text-based communication with someone. You don't know who they are. You don't have any background on them. You don't know if they're fucking schizophrenic. You have no idea. And yet you are investing your mind and your focus on these interactions that you're having with this person. And most likely, if you're in a dispute, you're trying to win this dispute.
Yeah.
So you're trying to find reasons why they're wrong, and you're getting anxiety, and you're involved in this little sort of debate/mental battle. It's like, fucking go outside. Go do something with your life. Like, social media is fucking dangerous. But it's not dangerous if you understand it. It's like if you have a cabinet filled with cookies and chips, it doesn't mean you're going to get fat. You can always go into that cabinet every now and again and have a cookie, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But if you just fucking open that cabinet every day and stuff your face, you're going to get diabetes.
And what's hard is these apps are built to be sweeter and sweeter and more fattening every year.
Well, look at TikTok. Like, that's the best one.
And that's where I finally drew the line, where I always try to stay up to date on all the apps, you know? And I have a family member who's young who like told me about TikTok, and they're like, you gotta get on this. It was like back in like 2019, and they of course were right. I should have. I would have. No. But at the time, I just said like, this is a step too far. Yeah. The shortening of our attention spans. YouTube used to be short form. That's like the funny thing. Is like then it was like TikTok and Vine. It started with Vine, but it was just like this new idea that like, hey, forget about 10 minutes. Let's try 10 seconds.
Yeah.
For a video. And that's where I have successfully disengaged. I don't watch any TikTok or short form because that would be the end of my attention span. And I feel bad for like, what do teachers do now when you're competing with like this never-ending feed of the most entertaining?
Well, the kids aren't supposed to have their phones in classes. I have young kids, but a lot of them sneak it and they figure out a way to juke the system. But it's an inevitable fact of the progression of technology and technological innovation. They're going to figure out a way to get people more engaged because it's profitable. And there's going to be a better app than TikTok in the future, a more addictive, more engaging app. You have to imagine, right?
It's so funny to imagine now because you're just like, how could you? But then we were thinking the same thing about YouTube. You're like, wow, this is great. Like, this is so, you can find anything, anywhere. And now YouTube is like, oh, they're like the responsible, you know, like educational company. I mean,
you can learn a lot on YouTube.
Oh, I learned so much on YouTube.
I love it.
It is kind of an incredible platform, and it is important to remember with all these new technologies, like there are good things, but oftentimes the people who are creating the platforms don't really tell you about the bad things. They're incentivized to down exactly.
Their job is just to make something awesome. It's your job to figure out your own life.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, the problem with things like TikTok and YouTube and Twitter, and I mean, this is what we're finding out with the Twitter files, is that then other entities get involved in the process of censoring certain information and promoting a specific narrative. And then when you find out the government's actually involved in that, like, well, that gets really shady. Like, we need some sort of regulations and or laws to stop that from happening. Or you need someone like Elon Musk that comes along and actually fact checks the president. You know, when they started fact checking the White House, you know, actually that's not true at all, and that's not why there's inflation. You didn't do that, and it's amazing to see the White House delete tweets out of shame. But that's the world we're living in now. But that's not the case with YouTube. And with YouTube, there was some real problems, especially during the pandemic, with the censorship of accurate information that didn't fit a very specific narrative that they were trying to promote because of their sponsors.
How do you regulate that when one of the challenges is that and I know this firsthand, the regulators are so out of touch with the technology, because technology moves so fast that these guys, a lot of these regulators were around when it was dial-up internet, and now they're in positions of power being asked to regulate things when they checked out, you know, with email.
Yeah. Well, you saw that when people were interviewing Mark Zuckerberg, and they were talking.
They don't know what they're talking about.
They're literally talking to him about problems with Google.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm Facebook."
And they're like,
"Fuck, are you talking about?"
Yeah.
You know.
that is one of the bizarre things. And so you rely, weirdly enough, on people to inform the politicians. Well, who informs them? Lobbyists.
Right.
And then you go back to people like Sam Bankman-Fried, where it's like he's informing them with money.
Yes.
And he's like, hey, let me get a meeting with you. So he gets a meeting. And now he's a favorite on the Hill because he seems like he's the responsible one in the room. And it turns out he's a giant fraud, but no one noticed because they don't know what they're talking about.
Right. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're dealing with a million different issues all at once.
Does it make sense? So I totally get the, elect kind of older people because they have wisdom. But at the same time, does it make sense for there to be limits on age where you get more young people involved in these situations who actually know the technologies, especially on those special subcommittees where technology is such an important part?
Yes, it makes sense to get people that understand it, and young people are going to be more likely to understand it. But do you want people with a lack of wisdom? Like, these are the type of people they were dealing with at Twitter. They were dealing with young millennials that were deciding to censor information and to, that was one of the problems that they had with issues like dead naming people. If someone can change their name and change their gender, and if you use their old name, like if you called Caitlyn Jenner Bruce Jenner, you'd be banned for life, which is bizarre because that person named Bruce Jenner won the fucking Olympics. Like, what are we supposed to do there? Like, you're doing this based on an ideology. You're not doing this based on fact. The actual fact is that person was born Bruce Jenner. Now, to be kind and respectable and, to that person and refer to them in the gender that they want is nice. That's a good thing to do. But why is that problem something that gets you banned for life? But you can call someone a cunt, and that's fine.
I have no idea. See, this is why I stay in my lane of scams, because I'm just like, it's impossible.
Yeah, you have to stay in the lane.
It's impossible to, and ultimately, like, one of the things I realized, so I consider myself a journalist, but one of my few privileges is that I don't have to engage in politics.
Yeah.
And it is a privilege because I see people just lose their mind
Lose their mind.
in this culture war, and it's like,
Ugh.